This story time is one for the books, trust me. So I'm just going to get right into it. My boyfriend had been acting strange for a while. Really distant, late nights and sneaky calls. So since I'm not the one, I decided it's time for me to investigate. I asked my best friend to come over and help me out, but she couldn't because she was busy babysitting. So I called my sister to help me out instead. I called him and asked him where he's at, and he said he's at his friend's house, but he was trying to come off the phone to me really quickly. I knew he was lying. I left my AirTag in his car. And I had enough of his lies, so we pulled up. We spotted him in one random Tesco's car park, and I walked up to it and I saw him in there with a woman. My blood was boiling. Then I looked closer and realised it was my best friend the whole time. And you know what? She had the cheeks. You know what? This needs a part two. So I've just seen my best friend with my man, and obviously I'm fuming. The first thing she says to me as well is that I'm an idiot for being so blind and that I've been seeing each other for a minute. Literally the majority of a relationship. Then she told me to let him go because she thinks she's a better fit for my man and I can't do half the things that she does for him. My sister could not hear her anymore, so she dragged her. And my boyfriend went to go and defend my best friend. It was at that point where I knew exactly where I stood and I just broke down. The next day she comes over to my house and he's sitting in the car like a coward. And she asked me for all his things and her things that she left over in the past. So I went upstairs and I threw them out of the window. She told me I was childish, but I could not care. Was I being harsh? What would you have done in that situation? Another story time, and as always, these stories are written anonymously and they're never about the client in my chair. So here we go. My boyfriend has bad hygiene and I don't know what to do. We've been dating for 8 months and the first thing I noticed was his bad breath. He doesn't seem to brush his teeth often, which is weird because his father's a dentist, but now it's getting worse. I've seen poop stains in his towels and he doesn't seem to clean his bed. There's a blanket that's probably never been washed either. It's dark blue and has lots of white stains. Once he said he's going to take a shower and I went with him. Then I realised he doesn't use any soap. When I asked, he said he doesn't like to. He just wants to water himself. I know this is ridiculous, but has someone ever dealt with this type of situation before?
Storytime, I had to go to jail because of my toxic ex-boyfriend. So a little background information. Him and I started dating right after high school. And this relationship was so fucking toxic. We would literally fight over the dumbest shit. So fast forward 4 years later, the one night he had his friends over and he wanted me to cook steak. I decided to cook chicken instead. And this is what triggered the entire fucking fight. He was saying things like, you never listen to what I say, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife type of shit. So he pretty much blew up and was like trying to kick me out of our house. He went to our master bedroom, started breaking all my shit, throwing it down the stairs, and his friends left me there with his crazy ass. So I tried to get him to stop, but he wouldn't, of course. So then he ended up calling his fucking sister, who is 10 years older than me, trying to get her to come to my house and kick my ass. I never really got in a fight like this, so I decided to call 911. She heard him in the background going crazy like for part 2. Part 2 of why I had to go to jail because of my toxic ex-boyfriend. So like I said, the dispatcher on the phone could hear him in the background going absolutely fucking psycho. So she told me to hide. I ran upstairs into the master bedroom and locked the door until they came. So they interviewed us separately. And he has the nerve to start fucking crying, saying that I was beating his ass, and he even fucking scratched himself. So even though I called 911, they said in a domestic dispute they had to take somebody to jail. And since he had visible marks on him, they took me to jail. So the police officer told me to take off all my clothes and to only wear one layer and to also take out my shoelaces before he brought me in. So they booked me in jail, put me in a freezing cold fucking cell with 25 other actual bad bitches for 7 hours. And this is the best part. My ex kept trying to call and get me out the whole time I was in there, saying that he lied and everything. They set a court date for me, but when I showed up, they literally just dropped all the charges. Now I just tell everybody that I've been to jail and I'm not. Storytime about the toxic boy that I almost started dating. So a little background information. Him and I both met on a set of a movie that we were in. Well, a few days into filming, he asked me out. So of course I said yes. And it was literally the most amazing first date ever. So he asked for a second date, and I said yes, of course. And the second date was terrible. He literally just tried to get in my pants the whole time. So then he asked me for a third date. And for some reason I said yes, hoping that it was not anything like the second date. And he didn't show up. So I pretty much got stood up. And then he even blocked my number. So a few months go by and I end up moving in with my best friend, about an hour away from where I was living when I met him. Well, the one night she came home and told me that he had messaged her on Instagram, which I thought was funny as hell because my best friend did not swing that way. So she pretends to flirt with him and asks him to come over. So he drives an hour to our apartment, and when he walks in, he just sees me standing in the kitchen. He immediately walked out.
Okay, so this story time is really something for the books. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So I have a friend that I grew up with and I hadn't seen her in about 8 years as she had left the country. She was back in town, so we decided to link up. A week went past and we decided to go for coffee in the morning. We were just catching up, asking her about life, how is school going and the reason why she's back in town. And she tells me that she's been speaking to an SD for a while now and he invited her over so they can finally meet. She says they've been talking for about 6 months now and she is so happy. He buys her all the gifts she wants, all the designers, flies her out all the time and even pays for everything. He even pays for the trip for her to come over. I'm here thinking I wish I had an SD to do all of that for me rather than sitting in a 9-to-5 job that I don't even like. I proceed to ask her where they're going, if they had made any plans, and she said that he's going to pick her up from here. They're going to go shopping, dinner after, and then if all goes well, they'll spend the night together. She then said that they're going to have dinner at Nobu, and I told her how much I love Nobu. It's one of my favourite places to eat as my dad used to take me there all the time. She's like, yeah, quite a few people do like Nobu. He's always talking about it. So she's so excited to go there. She's never been there before. She then told me how much she cannot wait to put it on him tonight because he is packing. Then she proceeds to show me a picture and all my days, he is definitely packing. I then ask if he has a friend, a cousin, someone who's just like him because she needs to put her sister on. She laughs and says, don't worry, I'll see what I can do. A couple hours pass and he calls her saying he's 5 minutes away. Then he says he cannot wait to see her and he's so happy to finally get away from his wife. They end the call and I look at her funny and she's like, I know it sounds bad, but he hasn't been happy in his marriage for a while now and he isn't happy being with her. So I said, just be careful because married men always go back to their wives no matter what. A few minutes go past and he calls her again saying that he's outside. So we say our goodbyes and she heads up before me. Then she runs in all excited saying she really wants me to meet him because she thinks we'll get along. So I'm like, sure. I grab my bag and we head out. As I walk out, my eyes open and my mouth drops. I was so shocked. You wouldn't believe who her SD was the whole time. It was my dad. So this story time is literally one for the books. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So I've decided to cheat on my boyfriend and this is why. My boyfriend's family are so dirty and I literally do not know what to do. So we met in university and we've been going out for about 2 years now. I'll be honest with you, I did see a couple of red flags in terms of cleanliness, but I thought it was one of those boys will be boys type of things, you know, like leaving clothes everywhere, not doing his laundry on time, that kind of thing. But now that we have left and I visit his home a lot more, I realise how terrible his hygiene really is. He literally never changes his sheets unless I tell him to. And he has a certain glass that he uses but never washes. When I ask him why he doesn't wash it, he says because he's the only one really drinking from it. And he's going to use it again anyway. I kid you not, I've never seen that glass clean. But the saddest thing that it's just not him. It's his whole family as well. They're all like that. When you walk into the house, there's literally a certain scent that hits you at the door. It's so bad that you feel like it's in your clothes when you leave. They have a dog that poops around the house as well, but they literally just leave it there on the floor until someone can be bothered to clean it up. And don't get me started on the showering. He can literally go 3 days without showering. And when you ask him why, he says because he thinks he doesn't stink. And you know what the worst part is? Okay, guys, you already know what time it is. It's another story time. Let me know what you think in the comment section. So I met this guy and we kicked it off instantly. We started to get to know each other and he told me he was a junior pastor. Now I'm a Christian, so you know I'm trying to get right with God. I was absolutely for it. He was such a gentleman, so kind-hearted and carried himself so well. We would go out everywhere. He would shower me with everything I want. We literally started doing everything together, even going to church. Now after a few months of us getting to know each other, we made it official. We started to go to church more regularly and everyone was so welcoming. I was absolutely loving it. However, the more I was going, the more I was seeing things that made me feel uncomfortable. One Sunday, he led service, and as service finished, I realised that things were, a bit weird. Women were onto him, and he absolutely loved it. They would be flirting with each other and having conversations about having one-to-one prayers in the middle of the night, and he would literally just laugh. He tends to go back to his homeland to preach quite often, and a woman suggested going with him on his next trip, and he literally just laughed it off but didn't really say no. So you already know I was fuming. Once we got in the car, I addressed it on our way home, and he told me that it's nothing to worry about. At the end of the day, he's really free with everyone like that, and I'm the one he wants to marry. So you know what? I believed him and I left it. To be fair, we were speaking about getting married. A few months passed and we got engaged. I'll be honest with you, he proposed to me in the cutest way ever. He did everything I said I wanted. The only thing was, as it was lockdown, I couldn't have my close friends and family with me. So he did it on Facebook Live instead. Once it was done, we grabbed dinner to celebrate. And as you can imagine, my phone was blowing up. But instead of people congratulating us, my friends and family were asking me to ask him who Sarah is. Someone called Sarah was in the comments accusing him of stepping out of their marriage. Now, when I asked him about it, he said that it's just one girl from the past. She's crazy. It's nothing to worry about. But I'll be honest with you, this answer didn't sit right with me. So I thought, let me do some research. My cousin had screenshot the whole thing. And guys, this woman had a lot to say. She said, and I quote, "How can you leave the country to tell me you're going to make a better life for us and our children, just for you to go over there and get married? I've suffered making sure our children get the best, not knowing you've been getting comfortable with another woman." You can already imagine how fuming I was when I read that. So I thought I definitely can't let this one go. I have to dig a little bit deeper. So I found her Facebook page and I saw that they're from the same country. My head was hot. Then I noticed that they have the same surname. Then I looked into our albums and I saw pictures of him, her, and 3 children. Twin girls and a boy. I showed him the picture and he froze. Alright guys, I'm here with another story time, and this one is seriously one for the books. Now I've heard some stories, but this might have to be the craziest one yet, you know. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Anyway, let's get into it. So I met this guy on holiday a couple years ago. He was perfect. It was like love at first sight. Now, he was a little older than me, but we hit it off instantly. I can't lie to you, we did do the deed, but I did not regret it one bit. Like, we were speaking all the time, and this continued when we flew back home. He said he had divorced a few years back, and he had a beautiful little girl that I would fall in love with when I finally meet her. We just knew what we wanted from each other. He even told me that he's ready to settle down with me, and I promise you, I was all for it. But as time went on, he just stopped replying to me, and out of nowhere, he just ghosted me. I couldn't understand why. I was so heartbroken. He didn't say a word to me. He just blocked me on everything. I honestly thought that we were going to start our lives together, but you know what? I just said it's best to move on. Now, a few months passed and I ended up losing my job, so I had to move back to my mum's house. Mum had met someone new anyway, so she was hardly in the house, so it was pretty much perfect. I could go in and out as I pleased. It literally just left me to it. Mum and her new boyfriend seemed to be really getting serious, you know. She was so happy. She had a spring in her step. She even told me herself when she asked me if I was ready to meet him. Now, when she asked me, I was over the moon. I was more than happy to meet him. After all, who wouldn't want to meet the person that's behind Mum's smile, right? So Mum arranged for us to have a dinner over the weekend. Now, I was running a little bit late, so I just met them at the restaurant. I got to the restaurant and spotted Mum straight away. So I went to sit down and noticed that her boyfriend wasn't at the table. She said he was in the bathroom. So I just ordered some drinks. And once the waiter had gone, I looked up and I promise you, my heart dropped to my stomach. I saw the man I met on the holiday, the one I fell in love with. He was heading to our table. Mum held his hand and introduced him to me like I already didn't know who he was. I completely froze. And do you know what's worse? He said hi to me as if it was the first time he ever met me. He literally said hi and had the cheek to say I am as pretty as my mum described me to be. I was so confused. I was even more heartbroken than I was before. I didn't know what to do. Like, do I tell Mum this is the man I fell in love with? Or do I just play along and bury the secret? Alright guys, I know I haven't been here in a while, but I'm back with another story time, so let me know what you think in the comment section below. Alright, let's get into it. So to start it off, I've been with my partner now for 4 years and we have a 2-year-old together. Now don't get me wrong, my partner is a good looking man. Like genuinely, a lot of people have told me this. Ladies loved him when he was single. Like he used to tell me about how he used to juggle multiple women around at the same time. He would tell me a lot of stories that, don't get me wrong, had a lot of detail in it, but it just goes to show how much these girls loved him. But he managed to drop all these girls just for me. I even had a few girls in my DM in the past about how they're the women I need to know about. But it didn't matter because it was around the talking stage, so I never felt a type of way about it. However, as we've been getting serious, I realised that he's still following these Insta baddies and influencers. Like some followers are just normal, ordinary, pretty girls, but he's constantly liking their pictures. He was in one of their DMs, like, you know, in the comments when you comment on someone's story and how it pops up. Yeah, he was doing that. And later on, I found out that she works with him. Now, he told me stories about her and they were horrible, like no class. One of those homewrecker and proud kind of women. So I told him I don't want him to have anything to do with her. And he was cool with it. Now, I completely forgot about that until I randomly saw a pair of false lashes in my bathroom. Now, I know they weren't mine because I wear individuals. So I said, you know what, I'm going to keep them and I'm going to show them to him after work to see what he has to say about it. Now, 5 p.m. hits and I knew he would be done from work. So I asked him to stop off to buy some groceries for the house. Now, he pulled up and I helped him unload his car. Tell me why I saw a necklace in the back of the car. Now, I thought the false lashes were careless, but the necklace now, that was left there on purpose. And yes, you guessed right, it was her necklace. The lady he works with, yeah, the same one that he follows on Insta, yeah, it was hers. When I saw it, I absolutely lost it. Like, what the hell is going on? But do you know what's even worse? You know what? This story is going to be a long one. So I'm going to do it in 2 parts. But for me to drop the second part, I'm going to need you to follow my TikTok and my Instagram page. So I pulled out the sandal and I asked him who this is for, and he told me it was for the same lady. She must have left it in the car when he dropped her from their Christmas work party one time. We're now in April, so how the hell he kept this from me all this time is beyond me. Especially when you know that I've told him to keep his distance all this time. So I asked him why he would do that, and he said it's because I like to make a big deal of everything. Like, he knew I would overreact. Whatever. I proceeded to show him the lashes, and he was adamant that they were mine. Like I said, I only wear individuals. So he said he must have taken them out of the car thinking that they were mine, but they were really for her. Like, the story didn't add up, but okay. Even though I was annoyed, I wasn't ready to throw my marriage away because of it. Some months passed and I completely forgot about the situation. And one night I went clubbing with the girls, and guess who I saw there? Yep, the woman. She came over to me and asked me if I was his wife, like you didn't know that already. But yes, I am. I asked her if she was the same woman that he's working with, and she was like, I mean, yeah, if you want to call it that. I was like, what the hell was that meant to mean? And she told me that they've been having an affair. This has been going on for 3 years, around the same time I fell pregnant. She proceeded to tell me that he was planning to leave me for her to start their own family because there's a lot of things that she could do that I couldn't. Like, only God knows what that meant. I felt so sick. I physically wanted to throw up. Like, how the hell could I have been this stupid the whole time? I wasn't going to let him get away with this time, so I FaceTimed him there and then so that he could see both of us. When he saw us, he looked like he saw a ghost. I didn't say a word. I just hung up. And I promise you, that whole night, he did not stop calling or messaging me. But I just ignored him. When I finally got home, he was at the door waiting for me and asked me what we spoke about, hoping that I wouldn't tell him anything other than I found out that he'd been lying to me all this time. But instead, I said nothing. I just took our daughter and I left.
I have a salon story time for you guys. I don't have a lot of these, so enjoy them while they last. So this story is about my sister, but it's nothing that she did wrong. So this is her hair. It's wavy, it can be frizzy, but I think it's really pretty. So she was still a teenager at the time, and my great-grandpa brought her in. I was cutting her hair. He was sitting in the empty chair next to me. Everything's going fine, and then the salon owner comes over to tell me I'm doing everything wrong. And I know he's there for guidance. I was a new stylist. That's fine. The problem is I knew my sister's hair very well. I had been doing it and styling it for years at that point. And then he picks up a razor for her hair. And I tried to explain to him, you can't do that, and she starts losing it. He cuts her entire head with the razor. It frayed the ends of her hair and pretty much ruined it for a couple years. After they left, I got fired and had to call my great-grandpa to come pick me up. He fired me because I know my sister's hair better than.
Storytime about the craziest football game I ever went to. One Friday, me and all my friends were going to have a sleepover, and we were going to go to the football game. So me and my friends, Stella, Anna Kate, and Brooke, all got to the football game. So there was this guy that my friend Stella really liked, and he was at the football game. And we're going to call the guy Luke. So Stella basically followed him around the whole football game until halftime. So a bunch of girls from a different school would always come to our football games because there was this one guy that was in 8th grade that everyone was obsessed with. So there was this one girl that was really interested in Luke, and we're going to call her Morgan. So Morgan and Luke basically walked around together the entire football game. So behind the bleachers at our school is the softball field, and then next to that is the workout gym. And normally a lot of drama would happen behind the workout gym. So me and my friends were just sitting around and making TikToks and talking. Then we see a kid walk up to a teacher, and then the teacher goes behind the workout gym. And we hear a bunch of Luke's friends start shouting. And then a girl that was in Luke's grade comes up to us and tells us what happened. So apparently Morgan and Luke were making out behind the workout gym. So Stella starts to cry. So me, Brooke, and Anna Kate want to see what's going on now. So we go behind the workout gym. So when we get there, they're gone. And behind the softball field and the workout gym is a gate that leads to the parking lot. And there's 2 parking lots, so there's 2 different ways you can go. So there's a spot behind the bathrooms where you can see the entire gate and you can see everyone walking. So we go over there because we want to see where they're going. So we see Luke, Morgan, and one of Luke's friends walking to some car. And Luke and Morgan were walking beside each other, and Luke's friend was a little bit behind Luke. Why do I see Morgan and Luke's friend holding hands and Luke doesn't even see it? So then we see them get in a car and we see no adults in there. These people are like 13, 14 years old. So then Stella starts to cry even more and starts to blame her brother. Oh, and her brother and the 8th grader that everyone was obsessed with is the same person. So then Stella didn't talk to us for the rest of the night. Apparently Morgan knew that she liked Luke. So then on the way back home, Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo starts to play, and